Well, here we go. Additional thoughts. Super Friday. This will be a longer video given I got to talk about 3 EPs and actually the Duppy Adidon. So timestamps. I'll do the Duppy Adidon. I'll do Daytona, Kids See Ghosts, and then Yay, since everyone's going to know about that. We'll save that one for last. So I guess talking about those 2 diss tracks between Drake and Pusha, and I was going through the comments, reading them, and you guys were absolutely right. Like my wife and I, we definitely should have spent a little bit more time reading the annotations. I was talking to her about it, and she was like, yeah. I was happy to hear that she felt the same way I did, and that we both felt or were concerned that if we spent a lot of time digging into the annotations, it would have been a pretty boring video. Almost to the point where, okay, well, now you have to like edit it out. And so you guys were right in the sense of, yes, we should have spent more time on the annotations, but it probably would have been maybe a worse video. And honestly, there's still a lot of things that probably would have went over our head. Now, we did watch the Mallory brothers reaction to both diss tracks, and that was so much fun. Honestly, after the fact, I felt like we should have recorded ourselves watching that because watching those 2 guys react to it and break down what these lines were meaning was very entertaining. It made us understand a lot more what was going on there, especially with Drake's side. I felt like Drake's side, he didn't really bring that much heat, but having more context and understanding about what he was actually saying made his track a lot better. I still think Pusha won that one without question. But the line, a lot of you commented on the line that we missed about 40 looking 80 and TikTok and the damn reference to scoliosis or whatever the hell he has. Like, that was just fucking insanely brutal. Insanely brutal. All in all, I hope our reaction to those 2 diss tracks wasn't too frustrating. Some people were talking about how, oh my God, you guys are just missing so much. And honestly, that kind of dumps me into Daytona. And if you know, you know, because I think that track or those 2 tracks are a great example of how much context can exist within rap lyrics and why sometimes it's so hard for people to understand what's actually going on. And so those of you who are well versed in the culture, in the genre, in the artist, in the slang, in all the pop culture references, all that stuff. Those of you who know, you know. And those of us who don't, it's just like, what the hell are they talking about? And I mentioned that because I've said before how I feel like one of the barriers to rap is this language barrier. And within language is context. And if you don't understand the context, it's really hard to understand why this line has so much meaning, so on. You guys understand. So anyway, with those 2 tracks, very entertaining, pretty wild. Everything that Pusha revealed about Drake it's just wild to think that that's real. I'm used to hearing some of these songs and going, oh, well, it's a story, or, they're kind of telling some half truths without telling too much truth. Like, the fact that it's real is really mind blowing. Moving into Daytona, I had a moment this week where I thought maybe I was going to have a hot take and say that Daytona was better than Kids See Ghosts. I really, really like Daytona. If you know, you know is great. The games we play is great. Hard Piano is great. Comeback Baby is great. Santiera is great. The only ones, I actually kind of lost interest in Infrared a little bit just because the sample repeats. I think the lyrics are great, but I don't know. I just kind of got bored with the sample after a couple listens. And then still, What Would Meek Do? It's okay, but I don't know, the production. But then when I got into Kids See Ghosts, because basically what I did was I made myself a playlist that was the 3 EPs combined. And so I could play from top to bottom, all 3, or I could jump in at the start of one, or I could shuffle or whatever. So there are a lot of times when I was bouncing around and this and that. But anytime I get into Kids See Ghosts, man, yeah, Kids See Ghosts is legit. It's very, very good. Very good. Especially, Feel the Love. Let's see, I got to expand out my thing here. Feel the Love is great. Fire is really cool, even though it's short. Fourth Dimension is really cool. Ghost Town Part 2 is amazing. I don't know. I don't want to say I like it more than the original because I don't, but I like how it's an extension upon Ghost Town. And I don't know, there's something about how I feel free, and it's almost exaggerated to the point of you don't believe it. You know, it's like this real intense declaration where you go, interesting. And then Reborn, of course, is a beautiful song. I like Kids See Ghosts. I like the beat on that track, how it's just kind of like this real low-key beat. You know, Kids See Ghosts, Kids See Ghosts. Yassine Bey, I always forget. This has come up a couple times. That's Mos Def. I always forget. I always forget. And then with it closing on Cuddy Montage, that's a great song too, man. So I listened to that album, that little EP, and I can see why, even though personally for me, I don't have like a strong emotional connection to it, just because, you know, hearing it for the first time this week and just kind of going about my life. But I can tell how an album like that, especially with it being short, concise, you know, you can listen to it on a bus ride. You can listen to it on your way to, you know, to or from school or your shitty job or whatever it is that you're struggling with, you know, like especially when you're younger, you can get that listen in and use that album to like, okay, I can make it through one more crappy day. So I really like Kids See Ghosts. So I don't think I'm going to stick to the hot take of Daytona as being better. Although I do feel like the two albums themselves are pretty different from each other. You know, with Daytona, especially like Santeria, hard piano, man. God, hard piano is so good. And the games we play, I don't know, Daytona is amazing. Daytona is really, really good. But the two albums, Daytona, Kids See Ghosts, they are pretty different in terms of just what they're doing. You know, Kids See Ghosts feels kind of like a rock album to an extent. Daytona feels like this kind of just like cool, kind of dark, cold album, you know, just like, almost like a Razor's Edge type of album. Just sharp, concise, to the point, great production. Same thing with Kids See Ghosts in terms of production. That stuff is really good on that album too. I guess that kind of wraps up those two albums. I mean, I don't have a ton to say about them just because I enjoyed them, and there you go. So that puts us into Yay territory. Good old Yay. And, oh man, I've got a lot of notes. I've got a lot of scattered thoughts. I need to try and actually kind of slow down a little bit so I don't stumble over myself. Obviously, I'm assuming most of you or all of you watched my reaction to Yay. Was not into Yay on the first listen. I found it to be very confusing. But this is what's cool to me about this channel. And this is why I feel like you guys, the community, and the communication that comes back is so important. It makes everything that I'm doing in terms of listening to hip hop and exploring it so much better via channel format than if I was just listening to it by myself. Because honestly, if I was listening to Yay by myself, I may have given it one more listen and been like, okay, and just moved on. Like, would not have listened to it again. And I would have missed out on basically everything, everything that's going on in that album. Lots of comments about, you know, Kanye and this and that. Let's see, I'll just slow it down. I'll do one at a time. The one that struck me the most, and this is something I did not know going into it, was that he had this whole album already and then he scrapped it. Just dumped everything he had and made Yay in 2 weeks. And that right there, I think, is the perfect kind of summary about everything else that surrounds this album in terms of how I feel. Because that alone, in my opinion, changes everything in terms of how I look at this album and interpret it. The other thing, too, is I forgot. I mean, it says on the thing in 2018. I didn't have in my mind what was going on in 2018. Trump is president. Kanye's talking about supporting him, wearing the MAGA hat, all this stuff. Like, I totally forgot about that. That was not active in my mind while listening to this album. The fact that he comes out and says he's bipolar and kind of makes that announcement to the world, you know, makes it public, makes it known. That's a big deal. Coming into it, you know, I really, really like The Life of Pablo. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but Pablo is fantastic. And listening to Pablo, listening to Dark Twisted Fantasy, Yeezus, these albums that came before Ye, I was going into this thinking, man, he is hitting his stride. And then especially with Daytona, I think I even said on Daytona, the production is on point. Really, really good. So when we drop into, I thought about Killing You, Yikes, All Mine, and I'm waiting for the production. I went into Ye with an expectation. I have listened to a lot of Kanye's music. I have an idea of what he makes. I have an expectation. And I went into this with an expectation. And it was not what I expected. Now, does that mean it's bad? No, but it definitely threw me off on my first listen big time. I was not ready at all. So that's an aspect that threw me off. Let's see, what else do I have? People sent me the thing, he's on that rant on TMZ going crazy. That's a wild video. The TMZ rant. That one's pretty wild too. So, I took all this stuff into mind, right? And I listened to Ye. My wife listened to it. She listened to it a couple times with me while we were, up in Tahoe when we were driving and stuff, and we were talking about it. She brought up a great point. A couple of great points. One that I had already kind of come up to on my own, but she agreed with, well, she even said on her own, and then we were talking about it and agreed together that it just feels like this album is Kanye. And that's important in the sense that it's different from an artist, a musician who takes an idea and says, okay, here's a concept I want to share musically, and more or less takes that concept and breaks it down and then rebuilds it in a musical format. I don't think Ye is doing that. I don't think he's breaking down anything at all. There was an interview where during this time frame where he's talking to somebody about the album. I don't know if it's right before or after it released, whatever. It's right in that time period where he's telling them, yeah, I scrapped what I had and just made this in 2 weeks. And the guy asked him, how did you do that? Well, I just felt it. That's what this is. This is just Kanye recorded via music, basically. If you could basically take his mental state and upload him into an album, rather than him trying to take an idea and break it down to core concepts and then rebuild it musically and create a song from that idea. Maybe it sounds like the same thing, but to me, it's not. It's very different. I got this great message on Twitter from Kira. Thank you, Kira, for the amazing message about bipolar and these mental states and these manic episodes and these swings and stuff. And it's a trip for me because I can read these things and go, wow, and kind of understand them from a conceptual level, but I don't understand what it's like. I have no idea what it's like to have these mental states that just swing, especially to the extremes that they swing to. And I think one of the problems I've been having with Kanye lately, just in terms of my appreciating his music and trying to understand him as a person, I keep trying to approach him as if he is what I would say a normal person, right? And I don't mean that to say that he's abnormal or anything like that, but when you look at his career, his life, the amount of money that he's made, the fame, the lifestyle, the parties, the things that happened with his mom and his relationships back then and all the stuff that's happened, just the way he's analyzed in the media and scrutinized and talked about and all this stuff. I mean, and then you throw in these mental states that exist as well. For me to try and approach him from the idea of, okay, he's just another person making music, I think is completely flawed. It doesn't work at all. It would be like getting on a tractor and thinking, okay, I'm going to go drive on a racetrack because this has an engine and 4 wheels just like a race car. No, it doesn't. It doesn't translate at all. I think Kanye is so wildly different from so many of us in so many ways. It's basically impossible to comprehend what his life is like and how he goes about living it, I guess. So what am I really trying to say? I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought. Just there. I got hung up on a tractor on a race course, and I started thinking about that, and I was like, well, that's not going to work at all. The bottom line with Yay, the album, is after reading all the comments, trying to understand where he was in his life, what he did, how he made the album, how quickly it came into being, more or less where it came from in terms of him just feeling what he's feeling and just making music. I can step back and look at this album and appreciate it and go, okay, yes, that's a very interesting piece of work, but I'm not into it. And my wife brought up a great point of, there's an artist called, he's a painter, Jackson Pollock. Look up Jackson Pollock paintings. His name is Pollock. And he's got these massive canvases with just paint spattered all over the place. And it looks chaotic and it looks like a mess. And it looks like there's nothing happening. But when you really look at it, there is a lot of stuff happening. And I can look at a painting like Jackson Pollock has and go, okay, my wife can explain it to me. She can break it down. What's happening? You can see the structure. She can point it out. It's like, okay, yeah, this isn't just pure chaos with paint. There's actually something happening here. I can appreciate that. And then look at the painting and go, but I don't want it hanging on my wall. So Yay, unfortunately for me, kind of exists in the same category of Tyler's Igor. I get it. I can comprehend why people like it. I can understand the artistry. I can appreciate what it's doing. I'm just not into it. That's really all there is to it. I still have two hearts. Well, I like No Mistakes. Wouldn't Leave, I'm okay with. Ghost Town is fantastic. I love Ghost Town. Ghost Town grew on me almost right away. I remember during the reaction, I was like so relieved to finally hear some production. And then I said, oh, it feels like the guitars are a little over the top. I don't feel that way anymore. I think it was just such a swing in sound that it kind of slapped me upside the head. So, again, the album, everything about the album just caught me off guard. Violent Crimes, I feel like I would enjoy a track like Violent Crimes because of what Kanye's saying about, guys who grow up and they have daughters and all of a sudden they realize, oh man, I should treat women better and, I love my daughter so much and I don't want people doing to her what I did to them and all this other stuff. And it's a great message, but the problem is I don't believe him in the sense that, watching an interview with Kanye where he's talking about how, the TMZ rant and all this other stuff, how people need to say what they feel, not what they think they should say, and how, we're all being, tricked and controlled and blah, 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 all that stuff aside. The idea of saying what you feel, okay, I'm on board with that. But if you're the type of person who you're going to say what you feel because that's what your truth is or whatever you want to call it, but then 4 hours later, your mood swings completely and now you're feeling something that's almost directly opposite and you say that and mean that, you're now at a point where I can't rely on you to have consistent feelings. And because of that, I can't listen to what you say and find sincerity in it, if that makes sense. So Violent Crimes, I listened to him talk about his daughters and how, he wants to respect women and all this stuff. And then I think, okay, great. What's he going to feel like a week from now when he's at a party and, he's in a completely different mood? It feels like it takes the sincerity and just tosses it out the window. And I'm not saying that to criticize Kanye or, or put him down or anything like that. I feel like, especially with this album, watching some of the interviews, man, I feel like he is being sincere. But when you're basing your sincerity off of your mood and your mood swings all the time, you lose the sincerity. So there you go. There was one guy, I forget his name. You'll see it in the reaction. There's one guy, almost every comment section, he was just really bummed out that I wasn't enjoying the album. And it did grow on me some, but overall, man, I'm not into Yay. That's really all there is to it. I was really hoping I could come back and say, oh yeah, no, I like it. No. I just don't. It doesn't click with me. From the mental episode side, obviously my brain doesn't, have that kind of thing going on, so I can't click there. There's a lot of lines he has that are referencing, people and things that are happening at that time, which I can't connect with because it's very specific to him. And so, I don't know. And then too, it surprises me listening to it on the 8th or 9th time how stripped back the production is. And not that that's bad, that's not a problem, but it always surprises me, especially after listening to Daytona or Kids See Ghosts or Life of Pablo. All these things, I guess Life of Pablo was a couple years earlier, but these other projects that were immediately happening in the same time. And then for his album to be so different. And again, not that that's bad, I just didn't click with it. So there you go. There's my final thoughts on, well, I guess I should say my additional thoughts on Ye. But unfortunately, I do feel like it's one of those albums I'm really not going to go back to and listen again. I do have one other thing. With Ghost Town, I got a couple messages from people saying, hey, listen to this. And it's that live version where he's with like the choir and a live band. And like the video's kind of in red light or something like that. Phenomenal. I love that version. I don't like when Kanye starts talking kind of in the middle, but like when the choir's going and singing all the chorus part and Shake's in there doing her thing, and it's just really good, really good. So Ghost Town is absolutely a fantastic track. So I'm glad I heard the album to hear Ghost Town, but yeah, not into Ye. There you go. I guess that's it. I feel badly because I kind of cut short Daytona and Kids See Ghosts, but I just enjoyed the shit out of those, so that's pretty straightforward. Anyway, next Friday, or this Friday, 2 days from now, Danny Brown, Atrocity Exhibition. I'm very excited. That album has been so highly regarded and spoken about, so I'm looking forward to getting in that one, especially too since JPEG Mafia and Danny, they're working together on a collaboration album. Hopefully that's coming soon. I'm getting positioned to be ready for that to drop so I can react to that one in real time, because I really want to hear that one. Tomorrow I will listen to Triple X a couple times on the way to work and on the way back. Get ready. And I guess that's it. My apologies to all the Ye fans for the people who love the album. It's just sometimes it doesn't click. That's how it goes. I hope you guys can at least appreciate where I'm coming from. I gave it a shit ton of listens. A shit ton of listens, man. Sometimes it just doesn't click. Okay. All right, y'all. Take care. See you soon.